Sluts.
Fuck, I was muted.
GG.
What? Hello, secular America and the internet. It's Wolf King. You watch Wolf King's Vids, and today we're celebrating HumanLight. That's the secular holiday that, like Kwanzaa, is a modern invention and celebrates a humanist vision of a good future. And we got Yana Svart and Steve McRae. What's up, guys?
What up, what up? Happy, whatever the holiday you said was. Whatever it is, I like it.
Yay, holidays.
Yay, what's my present? What'd you get me? Or it's not a gift-giving thing?
Fucking free day.
I didn't get you shit, so just FYI.
Well, you said you talked to a crazy guy. Talk about that shit for a minute.
I talked to a lot of crazy people. Can you be more specific?
Yeah, Dr. Dino.
Oh! Yeah, my conversation with Dr. Hovind. Yeah, I cringed when I said that, Doctor. I just call him Kent, actually. But, yeah, it was a hangout that Arcane Logo, or something, no, it wasn't Arcane Logos, he was in there. It was True Comparisons we're having. And he was actually pretty cool. I got to admit, Ronnie was a really good moderator. I was actually quite surprised. He actually did a pretty decent job. But I got to ask Mr. Hovind about some of his claims from his handbooks that he's been putting out over the years. He said, or implied, I guess, that he won't use them anymore because he's been made aware of them before, that his some of his claims on carbon dating have been disproven and falsified, that the source material wasn't correct, that he had stated. I wanted to get into more detail about them because, I mean, there's a whole bunch of radiometric claims that he has, and I could falsify all of them. I only got to 2 of them, but it's a start. And then the other thing was he was claiming that there was schools out there teaching that a population of dogs can produce a population of non-dogs, and yet he couldn't name which school did that because, of course, that would be, you know, against the, you know, Meyer's law of monophyly. So I don't know I mean, what he keeps saying. Dog, you know, I've never observed a population of dogs coming from a population of non-dogs. Or actually, the other way around. I've never seen a dog give birth to a non-dog. So he'll still use that. He'll still say it, but you know, we've all explained to him.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Did you ask him about if he dropped the soap or not?
No, I'm not gonna keep. I'm gonna keep it civil, and like I said, Ronnie was a pretty decent moderator. So
I got an example of a dog becoming a non-dog. Every time Wolf King comes on here, he becomes a dog. When he logs off, he's a human.
Oh, that's true. Does he give birth to himself? Is he his own father?
Well, you
That's
got it wrong,
Parthenogenesis.
first of all, because wolf is a wolf, not a dog. There's a difference.
Christopher, did you change your damn icon again?
Yeah,
I mean, I'm a dog on other shit. I mean, you know, I'm a dog in bed, you know, like that, like.
Woof woof.
Yeah.
I can be all
Wolf
sorts
King.
of animals in bed. I can be a kitty. I can be a little doggy who likes to bend over and take it doggy style.
See, Wolf King, your upside down cross offends me. See, so we can't have this discussion.
Are you your own god, Wolf?
No. I mean, you know, it's like the word itself is kind of like it's sort of like a misnomer to me. It's almost like you know, what's a Schnell, sort of like what Trav says. But I mean, I'm an apatheist. I don't give a damn.
Well, if you spell dog backwards, you do get God.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I am my final authority, so. I mean, what I do, who I hang with, who I fuck with, who I befriend, and how I live my life is ultimately dependent on me.
I love walking on the beaches of Florida.
Cool. And you're editing this video now, Steve?
Yeah, I want to get up on my site in the next 15 minutes or so.
Cool, I can't wait to see that shit. Let's see. Ooh, weed news. News about the weed. THC. Syrian refugees farm cannabis in Lebanon. That's nice. Inside a garage in Lebanon's Beeka Valley, filled with green dust and piles of cannabis, stand a woman and a 13-year-old boy sifting through twigs and buds of the recent harvest. They're Muslim refugees from Raqqa province, de facto capital in Syria, of Islamic fires, or that's just ISIS. And part of an extended family, about 25, fled from there and live in a Lebanese village. 29-year-old woman who declined to be identified for safety reasons, living with her family. And long story short, using weed to pay the bills, basically. I mean, I'm not surprised. I mean, it is a worthwhile commodity. There's the link right there. What do you guys think about that?
I agree. I have no idea. I don't follow any of that stuff, man. I'm not a politics dude, man. I mean, I'll tell you that. I mean, I have nothing against Syrian refugees coming in. I think that we have a pretty good policy on how to, vet these people. I know Canada was taking people in. Europe has. We are.
I mean, okay. It's not okay. Let me simplify it for you. It's not necessarily about like Syrian refugees coming in. It's like cannabis having the potential to make a lot of money. Like you agree with that, right?
You mean taxing cannabis?
Well, yeah. I mean that's the story.
Yeah.
Am I the only one that finds it ironic that Republicans in Texas are too busy with Christmas to help a Middle Eastern family that has no place to go have a home?
I just thought what you posted about Syrian refugees.
Well, they believe in a different God, so yeah.
Well, they have objectivist morals, so it's all about like your own rational self-interest. So fuck everyone, even on Christmas.
Speaking of which, I saw a video recently that Darkman made that was very, very awesome and just puts well the points about like God, basically. At least like this all-powerful, all-knowing God.
I love his cartoons. They are just so freaking hilarious. Oh man, that'd be fun. And I also like that little angel Jeffrey with that little pan leaf on his crotch. But yeah, those be good shows. Let's see. Some Japanese guy he died because he had an overdose on caffeine. What's that story? Hey, Seamus, what's up?
Hey, what's up, guys? Can you hear me?
Hey, happy Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever.
Can you guys hear me at all?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Seamus, we can hear.
Okay, my mic's been being weird. Alright.
You're a weird man.
Yeah, man.
Jaman, we be Jaman.
We might have to be careful with Seamus. He might be a victim of the war on Christmas.
Yeah, we have to be careful because we mock their God, basically. The God of Christmas, Santa Claus. No, Santa Christ.
I got nothing against Christmas.
Me neither.
Yeah, but zombie Jesus will live on forever. He will
No,
feast
seriously.
upon.
In the next century, that is what it's going to be, Santa Christ. That's the character of the holidays, basically.
Yeah.
And he
For-
died for our naughtiness so that we could get presents.
He died for Nadia?
No, naughtiness, not Nadia.
But if they're merged, you do realize Santa would have to get like at least you'd have to get a 6-pack going because you don't want your savior looking like he can't get on the manger. Like those Romans are gonna like be taking a while to get as fast on that 2x4 to get up there. And that's just how it works. But it's not.
Yeah.
It's not so much that there's a war going on, so much as ideas matter in the public sphere, and everything should be noted. So nativity scene, yeah, have that with like a Halloween Christmas version, like the Nightmare Before Christmas. The baby, it was stillborn, but it came back as the zombie baby Jesus. That's a good story.
We need to get Tim Burton on the scene, make another movie like that, a Christmas nightmare movie.
Yeah, except he's got to be on acid because I'm not gonna lie, the first one was kind of weird. I did not get that shit. Hey Tom.
What's up, man?
G-Man is about to destroy Floyd. I have a feeling that this topic is actually going to be a good one that G-Man could actually argue on.
Well,
Wait,
J-Man
wait.
might know something about this one.
Wait a sec.
It's
Is he and
possible.
Naya's hangout right now?
No,
He's
I
having his
don't
own.
know.
He's having a debate with Floyd right now.
Oh, okay. I have to watch that after this. That'll be friggin'
Oh, I thought it was in here. No.
What are they arguing about? Like prophecy or some shit? I don't even know. I think the last time I think he said end times. Maybe I'm not even sure.
Yeah, and Shamos, I think you're putting too much stock into G-Man. Like, even on this topic, I feel he's going to wonk.
I pretty much know how. I pretty much know how Floyd's going to argue, and it's pretty much it relies heavily on a certain interpretation of the Bible. So all really G-Man has to do is argue for a different interpretation, which most Christians actually have. It's a mainstream so G-Man basically is arguing a mainstream interpretation versus a minority interpretation. He's got a good shot. Floyd's arguing a heretical minority position that, I think I would. I don't know. It should be an interesting debate.
Yeah, G-Man has never actually been able to actually hold a debate that stays with the topic. He might make an opening statement and then it just turns into freestyle basically. He can't stay.
Yeah. Then he raps like midway saying, "Atheist,
firm.
Well, you know what's funny is whenever they start talking about like an atheist as a group, I think they're doing a disservice to a lot of people, including themselves. G-Man's whole thing is he needs to focus on a group that hate, just like any other type of bigotry, whether it be racist, whether it's somebody who doesn't like black people, white people, Jewish people, it doesn't matter. To him, he is against atheists, and that's a wrong way to go about approaching.
You remember that? Not to interrupt.
Against atheist. Go ahead.
Not to
Your show,
interrupt
man.
you, but
Your show.
you remember that video about like anti-theist he made with the freaking where he got angry about that little that picture that was did by Truthmonger, make it look like friggin' Beckel and G-Man were like in love with each other and stuff like this.
Right. I remember.
that was hilarious.
He literally lost his shit. Like he just, well, I mean, he didn't lose his shit, but he just moaned about it for like 12 fucking minutes. And it's like, dude, how insecure are you? Like, you need to make a point about this to the point like.
Well, that's what he does.
You are immoral. You have no empathy. You don't care about me. I am insecure about this. Okay, I don't know how I feel with regard to Beckel. I love him, but I just don't know.
Sounds ambiguous.
I can't quit you, man.
God sees it as abomination in his eyes.
We danced together in New York together.
In underwear.
It was beautiful.
No, he's hypersensitive. He is hypersensitive to that stuff, man.
Yeah, like he has to overcompensate. He has to like be masculine, even though he's like a twig boy, basically.
He doth protest too much.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I like G-Man, but you know, we all got to realize he is an entertainer, and when it's the end of the day.
Well, I'd say he's.
Go ahead.
good at
He's a
entertaining.
twink at best. That's his body type. Like he's a twink.
Oh, Christopher, stop it.
You would know.
Stop it.
Oh,
So wait,
oh,
hold on a sec.
oh,
Where's
you
this?
did.
Where's this taking place on G-Man's channel? Is that what you said? Someone said?
I'm not familiar with all this homosexual jargon. Can someone clue me in what that means?
Twink is like the feminine one, like the bottom one, like the bitch one.
How'd you know that was homosexual jargon then? Huh?
I know that
Shameless.
if Christopher was referencing it. It had to be homosexual jargon.
It had to be the homosexual.
Yeah,
vibe.
everything Christopher says obviously must be homosexual, right? Even
He's
though
a
he's
sexual
like bi.
deviant. Yes, of course.
Oh,
Yes, I'm an
you-
amoral reprobate.
Oh, you're a deviant, Chris. Yeah, you walk on the wild side, son. That's how it is.
I like to fuck logs.
Chris is still a virgin. I don't know how deviant he can get.
Well, I'm not so.
Chris lost his virginity to a piece of plastic in his bedroom.
Oh.
That's technically true. It wasn't in my bedroom. It was in the basement of my old house, basically.
Seamus, man.
That was the first one,
such a
and the
low
other
ball.
one was a broomstick.
You pray to your God with that
It was a
mouth?
broomstick.
What if you got a splinter, bro?
No, it was plastic. It was
Oh.
plastic.
Okay, good.
Oh,
at least
yeah,
you,
I had
at
to be
least
Oh
you,
my god.
at least you went in with your head straight. At least that much. All right, cool.
What the fuck is going on?
So wait, I don't think I've got an answer. Where is the debate taking place? On G-Man's channel?
Hold on, I have a link. Hold on, I got you.
I don't know. Fuck. Okay.
That's my prediction, that G-Man, like, they'll talk about some topic for the first 10, maybe 15 minutes, and then G-Man will go off on a tangent, and the topic will be pretty much irrelevant, you know.
You are wise, Rabbit. You are wise. Yeah. Arizona GOP taps creationist chemtrail trooper to lead Senate Education Committee. This chick who looks like the older version of that bitch feminist from Canada. An Arizona lawmaker who believes the Earth is only 6,000 years old, and that the U.S. government regularly sprays its citizens with mind-controlling chemtrails, has been selected to lead an Arizona legislature committee overseeing education.
I need an invitation to see this event. Wait, I mean, this is a hangout, so I mean, G-Man's blocked me, so I'll never get into this unless I have a sock, right?
Yeah, G-Man surprisingly hasn't had me blocked yet.
Is that a bad thing? Because what he just read off just sounds like, wow. I think even Allison and Wonder Woman would go, what the fuck?
Oh yeah, this is the same woman who wants a law that to make it mandatory that everyone attend church.
Oh yeah. She says that there too. She's crazy.
Whoa.
It is 2015. Can we not hire these people?
You're awesome.
Am I the only one here thinking that?
I mean, I don't know, but I mean, these people reproduce like at a rapid pace and tend to gain these certain positions that are troubling. You know, and because they put a certain level of influence on that on society at large, and it sort of impacts everyone else, and that's bad.
I want to make a G-Man soundboard. I just thought of that. That's the greatest
You are
idea.
a troll. You are a racist.
That's probably the
You
greatest
are
idea I've ever had.
anti-theist.
And then, like, I'll submit it to Google, and they can, like, approve it for, like, an in-Hangout app, where, like, I can just directly do the soundboard, like the Hangout toolbox and stuff like that. It's brilliant.
Awesome.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea.
Fucking brilliant. I'm sure Google would approve it. Probably go straight through. I mean,
Seriously, anyone who thinks that like there's going to be a law passed where Christians are going to get gunned down, just
No, it's retarded.
yeah, it is. This is what
No.
he says. This is what he believes.
No, it is not. And quite honestly, I'm sure when it doesn't happen, he's not going to apologize for saying it.
He also implied that he would go to war with non-believers. He'd actually said that we were going to start a holy war and we're going to lose bad.
My
Well-
God, that was funny.
Yeah, like the great dragon in the sky is all commanding us to do these things. oh wait, we don't believe in anything, right?
I mean, no, he's all over the place. We don't believe it, but we do believe it because of precept. We believe in Satan, but we don't think he's an actual person. We're slaves, but this and that. He literally makes shit up. Like fucking Peter Pan and freaking Robin Hood are watered down versions of the god of nature Pan, and it's like fucking. I wouldn't be surprised that motherfucker did some hallucinogens in his early years, and that's why he's fucking crazy now.
Owning a pet is the same as owning a slave, according to G-Man.
Fucking dumbass.
10-minute rebuttals? G-Man can't do that. Oh my god. 15-minute openings? Oh, for fuck's sake. This is
Who's
like the worst
moderating
format.
this shit show? This seems like it's going to be a shit show. Who's moderating it?
Like, G-Man can't... He'll get the 2 or 3 minutes and I'll just be like, okay, that's it. And like, I the rest of my time, I seceded. Yeah. I forfeit.
Of course you know that he's just going to like resort to ad homs and friggin' what else?
Oh my god. Have you guys seen this?
Atheist,
Well, look at
you're
this.
evil, atheist, evolution, atheist. I yield the balance of my time.
Yeah, exactly. With the clause, look at this. This is from G-Man's channel. I'm reading about the debate format, and rule is the Q&A answers must be answered. Questions must be answered, and the last one is yes and no questions must be answered with yes or no, followed by a 30-second explanation. That's like G-Man, one of G-Man's like aces up his sleeve, right? Yes or no, right? To a non-yes or no question.
Very open-ended question. Just
Yeah.
requires 10 minutes of discussion. Hey, we got Creetard Killer in here. Holy shit, dude! I haven't seen you in like a year or so. Where you been hanging?
Yeah. What's up?
Hello. Nice to meet you.
Oh man, you haven't been around in a very long time, Creetard Killer.
Busy hammering agnostics.
Hey, do you remember a guy named Moses Prey, Creetard?
Ah, dude, screw him.
Or Mumra?
Yes.
Yes.
Completely,
He's back.
started. No. Where he is?
He's under a name called he's either under I'm Kenny's Rogers Bitch or Moses Prey. He used to be called Mumra, and I know you know him as Mumra from like a year or two ago.
Mostly he hung out on the Pesky and the Jacqueline Evolution versus, you know.
Yeah, I just thought I'd give you a heads up.
He's
Back around.
anymore. Maybe some wild post once a week, and that's it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but,
I'm not on the videos much. Sorry.
fuck, no, it's fine. I'm just saying, like, fuck Moses, bro. He's a piece of shit.
Yeah, I used to comment a lot on videos. That's how I got started on YouTube, was just getting top comments on a lot of videos. And one of the persons that we had run into quite frequently was Mumra, aka Moses Prey, aka I'm Kenny's Rogers Bitch, and he was literally one of the dumbest people. I mean, I like him now, but I mean, we get along. But he said the stupidest things I've ever heard in my life. He was trying to say one time that the Bible had predicted that the planets were round because we saw them as disc, and a circle is the same as a sphere. And I'm like, no, a circle's not the same as a sphere. He's like, yes, it is. You failed geometry. I'm like, are you an idiot? How high are you right now? I'm like, they're not the same thing.
Yeah. My response would be, here, I'll take a saw blade and a basketball. I'll throw both at. Choose which one you want me to throw at you. They're not listening.
Yeah, I mean, you know, he usually spouts like dumb shit like about evolution and shit like this, and about like how scientists a lot, like in terms of history, like a lot of them were Christians. So are Muslims, so are fucking Chinese who believed in Tao, and fucking Egyptians who are polytheists and shit. So what?
Yeah, he's just trolling, dude. Sorry, does.
Yeah.
Christopher, you're evil, Christopher, man. I saw your comment about the safe. That's messed up, dude. You always do that shit, dude.
I don't care. I'm just curious how much money, because before he said like it was less than 3,000, like it was like.
Tom, tell the story. Tell the story.
Whoa,
Tom always does that shit too. You guys, man, for real need to
Which
stop
story?
that shit.
Which
Do it,
story?
Rabbit. Do it, Rabbit.
Y'all
What?
gotta stop it.
The one with G-Man.
Like, he's told the story so many times, like, I mean, different
I know,
accounts.
you don't love
On Nadia's channel.
You love to
Like,
get on a nuclear meltdown every time you fucking speak about that.
it was funny as it was funny as fuck. He was losing his fucking mind.
I
talking
do.
about-
I'm telling you guys, man.
I'll admit,
That's a low blow, dude. That shit is just not even cool. Like,
Hey, what are we talking about? Like, what statement? Just you mean bringing it up is a low blow? What do you mean, Seamus?
Yeah, because you know what happens.
Oh, because he has a strong reaction to it?
No, it's because like.
Hold on a second. I gotta understand what Seamus is like, kind of trying to criticize here.
Dude, it all started from that night where Fiona and fucking Cliffjumper were doing that BS, and it was a 4-hour diatribe that just got messier and messier and messier, and like people should have known from that day, just like, dude, don't bring that up, like that's just gonna start a shit show.
He told the fucking. Well, hold on. He told the story in the beginning. I mean, if people analyze that and get and you know make a response.
I know, but it's
Seamus. He's citing that as evidence for God, though.
Well, the problem
no, but I'm
is,
saying you're like,
think right now,
okay,
Seamus,
every time someone has
think
pushed this button, a shitstorm has ensued, and I'm gonna push this button.
Wait. It's
Well,
just
I
so
mean-
much.
Wait a second.
Hold on. Steve, you had something to say. Then Chris.
Yeah, I don't even know if the story is actually even real. I don't know if it actually even happened or not. I think he was just put on the spot. He came up with a story real quick, and then it's kind of created a life on his own. However, if it is true, he does relate it to evidence of God. That was what his claim was, that God had answered his prayers, and that it was not even stealing because the money in there was magically put in there by God. However, like I said, I think the whole story is probably bullshit. I don't think any of it actually even happened. I mean, if you go back to the original derivation of the story, an origin of it, that I think he was just kind of put on the spot to create something to demonstrate God, and I think it got out of hand.
Wait, are you talking about a drunken peasant?
Yeah, I can see that as believable.
Yeah.
No, he released a video before that.
But the whole safe thing, I mean, I know he had a video before that. I know he was on DP. But the whole finding a safe, I find that to be questionable to begin with. But it is up for review because he does claim that it is a story that demonstrates God, Shamo. So
he'll cite answered prayer as his best argument for the evidence of God. Don't you think it's like
he hasn't
relevant?
brought that up though since. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of like going into Sugar and be like, hey, let's talk about Markinoia. That's what it's like. It's like, hey, G-Man, let's talk about the one thing that is going to set you the fuck off. Hey, Sugar, let's bring up the one thing that's going to just set you off.
Hold on, everyone, hold on. Let me just respond to that real quick. Sure, yes, the safe is a story that can indeed set G-Man off. The problem is, almost any little fucking variable nowadays can set G-Man off, like any little fucking thing. And we all know this. Alright, any little thing, you know, the moment you disagree with him or get and continue on that road, he will get unreasonable and then start making fucking threats about any little fucking stupid thing, and then talk about, well, I'm gonna expose you, I'm gonna figure out your real name, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. I mean, you know, that's what he fucking does. I mean, yeah, I see your point that could bother him, but any fucking thing could bother Dreamer nowadays. He's an unstable fuckhead. We know this. That's why it's funny, because he has no fucking self-control.
Yeah, to back Wolf up here, and the other thing is, I'll add on to it is also, you know, I mean, if something's a sensitive subject for somebody, I generally won't touch on it unless it's brought up. Like if somebody brings it up, or somebody uses something related, like saying that they've shown evidence of something they've done, and then they justified it, and then they accuse somebody else of doing such thing. You know, oh well, you'll just do this if you see this. You're like, isn't that what you just did a while back? I'm sorry, you know, I mean, I will stay away from sensitive subjects, but if you flip off the safeties, I'm sorry, it's fair game. You know, and I'd expect the same to me. If I flip off the safeties of something that's a sensitive subject, it's on me.
Like, in my opinion, like the thing that I dislike about that whole situation is like the stubbornness and steadfastness of his ridiculous position, right? And and it's been changing and stuff too. Like if he came out and said, "Look, guys, it's a while ago. Like I found this fucking safe, and some people brought up that possibly, you know, I maybe should have handled it differently. I handled it the way I did." And if I had to do it again, I probably wouldn't do it that way. And you know, did God do it? Did God not do it? I'm not really sure, but like, you know, it really seemed like that at the time, and it helped me a lot when I was in need and asking for help. I'm not saying it's absolute proof or anything. Or something along those lines, but instead it's like, no, you don't know anything about it. You know, God materialized the
Well, he
fucking
doesn't
safe.
necessarily
You
have
don't-
to do that. No, look, he brought that up like one time, and then every other time in his answered prayer argument, he never mentioned the safe again. It was just that one time in that one video, and so what I'm saying is he hasn't really been using that as his argument. You know what I'm saying? It's not like he's bringing it up over and over and over again and saying that was proof or whatever. He doesn't need to come out with a video apology or anything like that.
Well, yeah, it kind of does, Seamus. That's why he
Okay, I
doesn't use
mean,
it.
I get. Okay, well,
I mean,
guess
he
so.
he
I
hasn't
guess-
rescinded
I guess
his argument. If he
I guess the atheists demand a video apology all of a
Well,
sudden.
let me ask you this, Seamus. Let me ask you
Wow.
a really easy question, Seamus. Like, he's got this answered prayer like argument, right? And his evidence is his answered prayers. Give me an example of an answered prayer of his.
I don't know. You'd have to ask
Exactly.
him. But
You have no idea because
No, I
like,
heard them. I heard them when in his conversation with J.D. Kane, and he brought up the answer prayer argument and never referenced the save. I just
He
can't.
doesn't reference any specifics anyway. He references a notebook. Don't you think if you had a notebook with answered prayers that was proof of God's existence that you might want to share your little spiral need with the rest of the world?
No, he brought up other things like medical miracles and other.
Those weren't specifically answered prayer for him. He has a notebook that he writes the prayers. He prays to God and he writes
Well,
down yes,
all
no,
right,
maybe,
whatever.
or
No,
not
whatever.
now.
You don't seem to want to really talk about this, so I was
What are
trying
you
to tell
talking
you.
about?
I'm telling you that he gave arguments for besides the safe for answered prayer, and it doesn't have to be his own personal experience. If other people's prayers were answered, and then you're like, no, it needs to be his fucking journal. Okay, we're not having a conversation at this point. I'm sorry, we're not.
You
But that's
are
his-
really wow.
That's
Seamus.
his
This
claim,
is-
though, Seamus. Like, I can't
He can
talk-
prove it through any answered prayer, not just his own. And he was citing medical miracles that people in churches had prayed, and then there was unexplained medical miracles. I mean, I remember at least that much being said. So how is that? Why does he have to reference a journal? Why does it have to be his own experiences?
Because
Why can't it be-
because he claims the journal is proof, yet won't show us anything about it.
I don't know anything about why this journal is so important if he made other arguments for answered prayers, but I guess this journal is important, so somehow.
Well,
maybe
and also
maybe I'm
altogether
just
his,
missing it.
his argument is shitty because he adds a caveat of maybe. There's maybe as an
The
answer.
argument is horrible, Seamus. Come on.
Yeah, come on. So even you're a smart guy. He's not making a well-defined
I don't
argument.
think arguments from answered prayers are horrible. I think a lot of people haven't even assessed 0.5% of the evidence and are just fucking being doing the fallacy of hasty generalization.
So if you're concerned about assessing evidence, and G-Man has evidence directly firsthand in the form of this notebook, and then you don't want to look at that, and you're like, why do you guys want to see it? That doesn't make any sense. It's totally contradictory.
I'll give you evidence for answered prayers. There's tons of medical miracles that are unexplainable that are attributed to an answered prayer. And I mean, there are certain instances.
Wait.
Hold on,
No,
I
you
got to
cannot
finish
say
that
that.
sentence. I got to finish the sentence. There are also certain situations in which medical miracles happen in which people didn't pray. Okay, but that would still be consistent with Christianity.
No, I like to know one that was attributed to a prayer. You said they were attributed to. Can you show me the doctor's in his own writing, in his own medical diagnosis and everything, that the doctor put it the cure was miracle?
When did I say that? When did I say that?
You said there was a many that was attributed to prayer.
No,
You
what
said
I'm saying is
medical miracles.
Yeah, medical miracles, exactly. And they're not. The doctor never writes in, "Oh, this was a miracle of God" or
Then
anything
you
like
said
that.
it was
They're
attributed to a miracle, though.
They're
That's not a miracle.
unexplained. They're
Unexplained is not a miracle.
Hold on, you're not letting me finish. They're unexplained medical phenomenon that have no explanation, and then there can be arguments made that they could be connected towards certain prayers that were answered. And so, for example, you can even go beyond medical miracles. I think those are the most easily to establish. For example, the Catholic church does that every year, and the ones that they validate as being true miracles almost every time are medical miracles. But there are other miracles that happen to multiple people in multiple sightings and in a congregation of Christians.
Mm-hmm.
So either you have a group of liars or something seriously happened. And
You also have a group of UFO people. That's not how science works. You're sitting there saying, and I'm not disagreeing with the
what
fact
does
that
science have to do with this? What does science have to do with
Because if you attribute
this?
something to a causation, and you know very well cause and causation and causality and correlation.
What about supernatural causation? Medical.
That doesn't fall into science.
Okay, so why are you bringing science up then? Because I'm confused.
Because we're empiricists, and if you're attributing something
just
to a
invoking scientism on something that can't be evaluated through a
miracle. If you
can't
want to
evaluate
attribute it to a miracle,
science.
Why not?
Why not?
Methodological naturalism precludes that option.
Well, it's in this world. It's manifesting in this world and having an effect in a natural world.
No, you're mistaken.
There's a fallacy that is this. The fallacy is that you're saying that just because we don't have an explanation, therefore it must be a miracle. When we've learned over the countless years that just because we can't explain something does not mean it's a miracle.
It's a probabilistic argument. In fact, I'm not making any fallacy.
No, it's not a probabilistic argument.
Fallacy
One attributed scientific fact.
The fallacy being made here is the inductive fallacy of hasty generalizations. You guys are making hasty generalizations over top of
No.
Yes, you are. You don't have any of this. You don't have the evidence to make it. Look, in order
to make a hasty generalization, we have to make the one being asserting the claim. We're not claiming anything. You're claiming it. How can we be committing a hasty generalization when we're not asserting anything as a positive claim?
Yeah, well, then you need to sit back and start listening and evaluate the evidences, which are multiple. So
which I'm asking for. Show me a paper that was a peer. Show me a doctor that attributed to a miracle.
That isn't what
Why would you tell us we need to evaluate the evidence, and then when we ask for the evidence of the notebook, you say, "Why are you asking?"
The evidence is out there. The evidence is out there. Look, I don't have to present it to you, and if you reject something, the option is for you to actually be familiar with the evidence.
Okay, Shamos. I have a response to make.
Cancer or something like that.
Okay, Crazy Retard Killer, stop for it. Shamos, I'll say this. Let's just go ahead and say that for argument's sake that it's right and that it's possible that that prayer can be confirmed. How about you go to like the James Randi Foundation, demonstrate this to be the case, and get paid and demonstrate your religion to be accurate and correct?
They just would want some verification as standard, like Steve's reporting, that some supernatural would be protruded from via methodological naturalism. So, I mean, if you guys want to go down that road, you're just arguing against the answer that you already know. So basically, you're just begging the question. You're saying, look, science can't evaluate supernatural, so what? And then you're just, okay, that's true definitionally. Like that's not a knock against the supernatural. That's only true definitionally. So that's not even an argument.
The reason I brought it up is because an even greater miracle than the miracle you're proposing is if it was a trick or an illusion or some other type of thing that could be explained. That's the only reason why I would even bring that up, and the reason why scientific methodology even comes into the question of examination of this particular claim.
What I'm saying is, if you had 100 claims and all of them were unknown causes, let's say somebody got cured or something, or disease went into remission, or some unexplained phenomenon that they weren't quite sure of what happened, and you had 100 of them, and that was from the 1800s. And they were saying, okay, well, we don't know why this happened. It must be a miracle. And then in the last 200 years since 1800, we've known why those things happen. We've discovered why those things happen. They're no longer miracles. We cannot ever conclude there was a miracle in science, and that's what Seamus wants people to do, is say, oh, well, just because we don't have a reason, we don't know enough yet, or we don't know what happened, the more likely probability is that it's a miracle, when there's been no evidence of a miracle ever occurring.
I don't know why you keep bringing science into this. Like you just systematically
because that is how you evaluate certain things and certain claims.
It's not how you evaluate supernatural claims. You're systematically begging the question against me through science.
Because there's been no
Simon,
That's what
there is another side of the complete story you are forgetting. You are not doing research about the people that had their illness remised, or what's the word, gone away. But when you look up on the internet and you find these people back, lots of them had their illness come back and they died.
Well, like the Benny Hinn one, Benny Hinn, who was a faith healer, who would tell people not to take their medication. They would get a big adrenaline rush. A lot of them did, get sick again. Some of them did die. These were remissions that were supposedly documented, and of course, nothing ever happened. It was just basically psychosomatic or a adrenaline rush. There was no evidence of any healing whatsoever. So when people are saying, "Oh, well, Benny Hill healed people," well, where's the evidence when none of them were healed? That's what we're asking for.
Well, I'm not
Because
talking
why
about
you
Benny
guys
Hill.
that?
I think
But that's the same principle, Seamus.
Well, I don't know. I would just rather you address the claims that I'm making. I wouldn't bring up Benny Hill to support my argument. So
I hope not.
Well, I hope you wouldn't bring up Nephilim Fleet to support your arguments or something like. Why would you paint me like that? Why don't you let me handle that?
Because it's not who you're bringing up. It's the comparison of that. If somebody's saying about faith healing, or somebody's saying that a miracle has been taking place, it requires a little bit more evidential.
So someone bring up
information.
Hold on a second. Someone bring up Nephilim Free in here. Like, get that drunk bitch in here. That'd be funny.
Yeah, say his name 3 times and it appears.
So, yeah, and Steve.
Can I say one thing really quickly?
Yeah, go on.
So proof of a fake falsifies the truth of something, because if a Muslim walks around purporting to do miracles in Christianity, it all turns out to be bullshit or whatever, then somehow that falsifies prayer.
No, that's not the argument.
So fuck Benny Hinn then.
But you'll find that every fake healer that has been exposed, none of them were legit. I will tell you this, Seamus.
What about Jesus Christ? He was a faith healer. Let me tell you this.
Hang on. I am not an ontological naturalist. You know that. So I will tell you this. If a miracle ever does happen, it's going to be the type that nobody knows anything about. It'll be the individual. God will do it to the person. It'll be something they'll never be able to demonstrate to anybody. They'll know in their heart, but they won't be able to prove it. It could be like a contact situation, where she knew something to be true, but she couldn't demonstrate it. And that is not what G-Man is doing. G-Man is making a spectacle of your miracles, if they do exist. So I'm just going to say that. Is that fair?
Epistemological concerns about whether or not we would be able to tell doesn't falsify whether there are miracles or not. Like, if there is if it's ontological.
I didn't say it did.
I know, but I'm just saying. I'm not saying it is. I'm just bringing that point to light. I'm just saying that, like, yeah, if we can't tell the difference, or if we, if there's no way to establish that or scientifically, that doesn't falsify miracles. That's an epistemological barrier. Like, I don't know, man.
Well, at such a time, in light of scientific laws, miracles, they're at least unprecedented. That's I think we can say that we're with the knowledge of the universe that we have at the moment.
Well, a lot of those medical miracles revolve around congregations getting together and praying, and then something magically starting pretty much correlated around the same time. And what's interesting is that story is relayed in the Gospels through the centurion or whatever, Nicodemus. He says, "Look, your kid's healed. Just go back home." And so he went back home and he was healed. So.
I mean, you would agree that that's still based on post hoc ergo propter hoc reasoning, right? So that you have this particular effect, therefore the thing before the fact occurred and did that.
Well, what I'm saying is, look, it's possible that you could reason it like that, but what I'm saying is, ultimately, because of this epistemological barrier that Steve noted, you wouldn't be able to tell if it was really a miracle or if it was just ex post facto reasoning. So what I'm saying is, like, you alleging that doesn't make that right, and it doesn't get you out of the epistemological problem. So, like, you're gaining zero ground in the argument by stating that, in my opinion.
From a non-epistemological standpoint, almost everyone we have investigated has turned out to have a naturalistic cause. There might be a handful that are still out there, but again, every time one is found to have a naturalistic cause, it is one less piece of evidence. Probability speaking, the odds are that they are naturalistic causes. You know, and I don't know what the argument is saying that, well, there might be a one that is a legit miracle. Well, yeah, there might be, but that they're using it as evidence as it is.
But you can't use an inductive argument on a. It's not a strong inductive argument. It would be one of the weakest inductive arguments possible. For example, a strong inductive argument would be every known example. But what you're saying is like, look, we have knocked down some examples, but I mean, that's just at its best a very weak deductive argument. And then
yeah, but it goes to Russell's teapot.
I know, but
thing.
Then to try to
I mean, it is a post-hoc
then to make a hasty generalization from that small sample size is inexcusable.
We're not making we're not doing that, Seamus. We're not determining. We're not saying there are.
We're not making the claim. I don't understand.
We're not making a claim. How can you say we're making a hasty generalization or anything? We're not saying that miracles do not happen.
What I'm saying is there's plenty of miracles out there that have been recorded. In fact, there's a guy that's got a whole book on them and stuff, and I can present you with some of them. But the ones that I could present you, there is infinitely more that are just as well validated that you could need to look into as well. So by saying that, well, I'm only going to base by what you say, and then I'm going to hastily generalize based on the anecdotes you've provided, that just makes you a lactheist, and where you're just like, well, I don't have to look into this shit. I just have to sit here and hold my hands up. No,
why do you offer to show us this book as proof, but then when we ask for the book that G-Man has, you take issue with that?
I don't know anything about G-Man's journal or anything like that. I don't even know, but I know that a guy did record a lot of.
You don't know anything about it. We've just been referencing, and you had an issue with it. We've been talking about. That's how this whole thing started.
Talk about G-Man's journal if you want. I don't know anything about it. I don't know, dude. Whatever.
But the other thing that all this has led to begs the question is what makes the Christian miracles any greater than the Hindu one, like the Hindu. Miracle milk with it disappearing in front of the statues when it was being served by the priests. I mean, what makes the uniqueness of the Christian ones? I mean, I mean, if I don't know much about it, but I mean, milk disappearing in modern age. I mean, that sounds pretty freaking badass right now, but I mean, I'm pretty sure there's probably trickery to it. But I mean, as I said, that's just my saying. I mean, as I said, what makes the so-called Christian miracles any greater?
G-Man just yielded the remainder of his time to Floyd, as predicted.
Wow.
How long was it?
It was so much time that Floyd didn't even have his PowerPoint up ready because he had so much time left. I will honestly say that I don't know the exact number. I missed that part, but.
Okay.
By the way, Shanna Rocky, who is moderating this debate, when the last time she moderated G-Man in a debate about answered prayer, or she was in the debate, she said that it was a bad argument. Not that that proves anything, but I'm just saying that. Just
any argument G-Man makes is a bad argument.
Of course Shanna Rocky would think that's a bad argument. She's a fucking deist. She thinks God cannot interact, period.
My.
I'm just saying, when you define God as not being able to interact and you're philosophically convinced of that, of course she's not going to think miracles are a convincing argument. She doesn't think they exist.
So you're saying she was biased by the...
Yeah, she's heavily biased.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, and you're not biased?
She believes in a God that impossibly won't intervene.
No, G-Man is biased. No, wait, let me rephrase that. Neither you or G-Man are unbiased in your...
I'm just saying, someone that holds to a philosophical worldview that holds that miracles are impossible, I would expect them nonetheless to say that was a bad argument.
Well, Seamus, I don't understand why you're making this equivocation between your answered prayer argument and G-Man's. This is like the problem. It's like they're not the same. G-Man sucks. Yours is a little better, right? But G-Man
Well, I mean-
sucks, and that's what we're criticizing. And I don't think you seem to understand that. You think like we're making some kind of blanket statement about the anti-prayer argument. That's not happening.
Yeah,
Well, what
but
I'm
going
saying
back,
is you guys seem to...
hold on, real quick. Going back to the whole Shanna's deism argument. I mean, it's a lot more. Deism is a lot more reasonable than traditional theism, because at least you could, there's like a basis for which you could probably argue that, and even then that kind of establishes the weight for theism and how it's carried on later. But
Shamos, here's a question for you. How do you go about getting around the fact that every time a miracle's been claimed to have happened and it's been investigated, it's always turned out to be a naturalistic cause?
That's not true. That's a lie.
It is true. Every single time a miracle has been investigated and found out that something did happen, there's been a naturalistic cause.
I don't think how.
Okay,
I don't
prove
see how
it.
that's true. I mean,
Give me an example where it has been proven to be a
That's an
miracle.
argument from ignorance. Sorry.
I mean, that was.
Hold on. That is an argument from ignorance. You made
No,
the
that's
claim.
not an argument from
He said
ignorance.
he made the
Come
claim
on,
and then
man.
said that because it hasn't been disproven that it's true. That is a classic argument from ignorance. I dare you, Steve, to get a timestamp and go back.
Okay, did he state it exactly like that, Famous?
I dare you to get a timestamp and go back, and me and you will talk about
Alright.
this later.
If,
because that was
if he stated it like that, then yes, but that's not what I heard.
an argument from ignorance. Like, I got radar for that shit, man.
Well, then
You
why
should
don't
get it
have
checked
radar-
because it's
why
not
don't
very
you have
good.
radar for when you said, like the miracles can't be explained, so therefore it's a prayer. That's the argument from ignorance. You think you're the only one with radar for that shit?
Hold on. He made 100% claim that in every instance they've always been proven to be natural. I said, can you prove that?
I said-
And then he said, hold on. I said, can you prove that? He said, well, it hasn't been disproven. That's an argument from ignorance.
No. What I said was, in every case where a miracle has been claimed and it has been tested, investigated, it's always turned out to be a naturalistic cause.
Okay, let me give you an example of one that hasn't been proven to be a naturalistic cause. What about Jesus' miracle of walking on water? Was that proven to be a naturalistic cause? What about Jesus?
If you refer to some interpretations, they
where's that coming from?
He's asking me. Let me respond. Considering the fact that you can't even prove that a historical Jesus even existed, your argument goes nowhere there.
Yeah, I can. I can argue that a historical Jesus existed.
Well, I could say the exact same thing. How can you explain that Zeus threw thunderbolts down from Mount Olympus?
What are you talking about? How is that not...
Well,
it's a
it's
stupid
not that
claim.
Jesus existed, but to the extent that he had these powers. And
Well, I mean, he tried to change the subject there about the historical Jesus, but God knows I can defend that better than almost anyone on Google Tubes. So we can have that
We can talk
conversation
about
another
that, sure.
time. We can have that conversation another time, but I'm more instance to tell you that there's one example of a miracle where no one has been able to disprove it or not. In fact, they had a guy in India that was a sheik. He purportedly did not millions of miracles, but a shitload of miracles in front of a lot of people, and they all swore by it. And they were just eyewitness testimony. They never could go back as one-time historical events. They could never go back and retest them and stuff like that. So what I'm telling you is, how have those been disproven? That's ridiculous. What do you think?
Well, how about I just say this: the worst kind of testimony is eyewitness accounts. That's like the most worthless.
Give me one kind of
evidence.
testimony.
You
Give me
said there
one
was
type
a.
of testimony. Hold on. Let me start with Steve here. Steve, give me one type of testimony or transmission of evidence that's better that was available in that time. Keep in mind they didn't have
Well, I mean,
cameras at the
that's
time.
what.
Audio recorders.
Well,
Give
of
me
course,
one
that
type of
time. I
evidence
mean, yes,
at
things
that
are written
time.
down with car.
So was eyewitness evidence the best
For
preferred evidence
example-
at the time? Hold on,
No.
let me answer. At the
For
time,
example, when just removing a cyst
you're not
and
letting me
claiming it's
finish.
cancer.
you're not.
Alright.
letting me finish.
Hey, hold on. Who?
I would.
I'm trying to ask a question here. Just
Yeah, I heard what you say, Seamus. Let me answer Seamus real quick. And then
Well, somebody keeps kicking me from the room.
Well, fuck it. I'm about to leave if we're just going to do
I
this.
Why is somebody kicking Alexia?
No, if you were kicked, like you wouldn't be able to get back in.
Yeah, I'm not kicking you. So
Are you
I
probably
keep
gonna
getting
drop
a
the
message
connection?
saying you have been removed from the call.
how do you
that's a drop.
the call if you can come back in?
Yeah, you probably. Well, it's probably a drop
It's
connection.
probably a glitch. I've had that happen
Yeah,
before.
yeah.
It's a glitch.
Because he
I
wouldn't
know
be able
that
to come
one,
back
yeah.
in if it was locked or kicked out. I'm just saying that when it comes to evidence, historical, I find that if you have a multiple amount of sources having a concordance to the same event, like let's say you have like 5 independent different validations of an event occurring, that might be a lot more to me, evidential than an eyewitness account that wrote something down, because people are notoriously getting facts wrong, simple facts. So you have to take the eyewitness testimony with a grain of salt in any kind of evidential things, even
Okay,
in the law.
But you have to understand that those 5 written sources either are eyewitness accounts, secondhand, or they're further down the line. So either those 5 sources derive from eyewitness testimony, or they derive from an even weaker form of source, like secondhand testimony, or third-hand, or fourth-hand, or hearsay. So the fact that you have 5 sources doesn't address whether or not those sources are actual eyewitness. Let me tell you, in terms of evidence, in ancient days, there's nothing better than eyewitness testimony. The only thing that would have been better is if they were running around with a papyrus in their hand taking notes as they were going. And that didn't happen.
It would still just basically be testimony, just transcribed. I mean,
Well, and the other thing too,
it's inappropriate to hold ancient people to standards that are impossible to meet. And when
you don't even have to go that far. We can just use
what
present
the
day.
I mean, you go back 100 years. We didn't have camcorders. Doesn't make record keeping any better. I mean, it is as good as it is. I mean, yes, we got better technology today, but all that's done is improve it's improved our ability to verify and be more accurate. Because
it also helps our ability to circulate.
Yeah, we moved on to those is because the old systems were bad. They had their flaws, they had their issues. I mean, just because I mean, it's like any other tool. Just because we develop better tools today doesn't mean that the old tools yesterday got worse. They're still the same as they are. It's just no different. It's just that, it's just that, yes, that's what they were stuck with, but that's the thing, is it hasn't changed any level since from back then to nowadays.
I'm just saying
the flaws that it has today is going to be the same flaws it had back then.
Steve was just saying that, look, eyewitness testimony isn't that great, and then my proposition was, well, can you think of anything greater that they had available at the time? And I'm thinking the resounding answer is no. So it seems like the standard he was holding them to is inappropriate, because really that's the best thing we could ever hope for.
Statues, writings.
I'm like were there no historians back then?
Writings derive from testimony.
Well, hang on.
All writings derive from testimony. So,
but the bigger thing is that look at the extent of the claim. If you've got a very big claim of a big, a supernatural thing, something that does not witness that often, again, let's say that you saw something in the sky and they wrote down, aliens from another planet kind of thing, when we know it was a comet or something. I mean, when you're dealing with a claim of such magnitude, eyewitness account from 2,000 years ago even is not that evidential. It really isn't. I mean, you can't even make the claim that it is, because they don't no idea anything about science. They don't even know what a magician would be able to do. So I think the whole thing of miracles is subjective. Again, if they did happen, I don't think anybody would ever know about them. They would happen individually, and taking the miracles of Christ is based on faith. There's no evidence for it. It's just faith, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not against that.
There is evidence for it. There's testimonial evidence. What are you talking about? There is evidence.
There's no evidential evidence.
What do you mean evidential evidence? What are you talking about? Look, testimony is evidence.
I think he means empirical.
Scientific evidence. You want to beg the scientism question on me again?
Well, it's not science. It's just a matter of, we have any way of validating this information.
Yeah.
Are we talking about Jesus?
Yeah.
Okay. Considering the fact that the Gospels are not firsthand, are not eyewitness testimony, you don't even know who wrote them.
No,
you can't really use that as evidence.
You don't know who wrote them.
Neither do you.
Listen, hold on. I can give you arguments for who wrote them. Listen, when you surrender yourself from saying we don't know who wrote them, if you don't know who wrote them, that means that you can't tell me that eyewitnesses didn't write them. So as soon as you surrender yourself from authorship, you can't say in the same breath that we don't know who wrote them. We don't know who wrote them, but they weren't eyewitnesses. That fucking makes no sense. In fact, I could give you arguments based on the dating and based on the fact that only purportedly 2 of the writers where only 2 of the gospel authors were even purported to be eyewitnesses of Jesus. The other 2, Mark was an interpreter of Peter, and Luke was an interpreter, and not interpreter, a follower of Paul. So only 2 were claimed to be written by eyewitnesses, and Luke's claimed to have been gathered from eyewitnesses, and it says it right in his preface in Luke chapter 1.
Sure. Okay. Okay.
I'm sure
I have
it's
a
all
quick
this
question,
stuff.
Alexia. Are you like a mythicist or something? Because I feel like that's what he's prepped up for.
Wait, what did you ask?
Like, are you a mythicist? Like, do you do you disregard the existence of Jesus as a historical figure, or like?
Yeah, there's no evidence. There's no evidence that he even existed. The earliest writing is almost 100 years after he supposedly lived. We don't know who wrote the Gospels. There's no mention of him in history other than outside of the Bible.
Let's take one claim at a time. The earliest writing is 100 years after he died. Do you know when he died?
After he supposedly died. Do you know when he was born?
Yeah, he was supposedly born around 0 or 1 Common Era and died anywhere from 30
It's actually
to 33
considered to be
Common
4
Era.
BCE. But
No, it's not. That's based on interpolation of one of the Gospels, basically on a counter dating from Josephus' reference to who was in power at the time, and Josephus was written much later than these things. So let me school you on something because I'm aware of textual criticism. The earliest writings that we have are the Pauline epistles, which were written in the 50s. Okay, that's 20 years after Jesus' death. So you're 80 years off there. Now hold on, the Gospels. Let's talk about the earliest Gospel. By all textual dates, even the late ones, they place it right at 70 A.D. So that's 40 years. So now you're 60 years off. Okay, let's talk about the latest Gospel, the absolute latest Gospel. John, written around 90 CE. So that's only 60 years later. Guess what? So with your 100-year date, that would keep it around 130. Did you know that we have a papyrus called P52, the Rylands Library Papyrus? That was actually dated to 125. So that papyrus is younger than what you're claiming. Wrong on every single case. I can prove that textually and historically.
are you done? Okay, good.
Sorry, that was before the fact. Because of noise in the background, but you can go ahead and talk now. I have a freaking lag. Let's see. Unmute.
Okay, sorry. First off, Paul never met Jesus, according to the Bible. Therefore, he's not a eyewitness testimony. You can't use his testimony to prove that the person exists. There is absolutely zero writing from the person's time. And if you take somebody that is the Son of God, you would consider that there would be some writing about them. Somebody would have written something down. 'Cause we have Did he just leave?
What just happened?
Yeah.
I think his signal dropped. He'll be back, I believe.
Okay, there we go.
All right, there we go. Okay, so
I just got kicked again. Anyways, as I was saying, Paul never met Jesus, so you can't use that as evidence. As far as the Gospels, you don't actually know who wrote them, so you can't use that as evidence. And you would consider somebody that was, Son of God, somebody super important, super powerful, doing all these amazing things. Somebody would have written something down about it, considering all the evidence that we have for any other person of that time of importance. So right there, that whole thing fails. And then Josephus wasn't until after 100 AD, I believe.
Yeah, it was actually later than that. Hold on, you didn't answer any of the questions. So this is what you said. All the writings are 100 years after the death of Jesus. That's a lie. I didn't say Paul was an eyewitness. In fact, I know better than Paul was an eyewitness. I know historically about the New Testament. You think I don't know that? I didn't argue that we didn't know who the Gospels are, and therefore we can't use them. You made a statement that all of the writings appear 100 years after Jesus. That's false and a lie. That is a proven a lie.
Okay, so you want me to be exact? You want me to be exactly accurate on the dates? I said about 100 years after his supposed death. I did not say exactly 100 years.
No,
it's the second time you've taken my words and twisted them to try and make it into a fallacy.
The latest gospel is 60 years. The latest gospel is 60 years after Jesus' death. That's almost half the amount of time you're saying. So you're almost off by one.
Okay, so you're arguing about times. and you're missing the entire fact that it wasn't written during Jesus' time. You're completely missing that fact. And another thing I find really funny, if I came to you right now and I said my sister died 3 days ago, but guess what? I saw her get up and walk out of the grave. You wouldn't believe me. But yet you'll believe something written 60 years after. Not even a first-hand account.
Wasn't written in Jesus' time. Let me take you through a walk down a little bit what we like to call history road. You ready for this? So
The Bible isn't history, but go ahead.
I looked into Greco-Roman scholarship on the subject, and I have something to share with you here. Check this out. I compiled a source list on Greco-Roman sources. Check this out. So you let me get your quote because I did write it to the side. You said wasn't written in Jesus' time. Okay. Guess what? None of ancient history was written in the time that it was written of. Here we go. Our boy Josephus. He wrote the Antiquities of the Jews. Guess what? This accounts for almost all of early Jewish history that is outside of biblical text. Okay. He was writing about like anywhere, because he wrote about really, really early Jewish history. He's writing like 400 or 500 years removed from some of the stuff he's saying. Okay, the very first copy we have of his stuff is 900 years later. 900 years later, the earliest whole copy is 1,500 years later. What about? Oh, let me tell you another thing. This guy right here, Plutarch, he wrote a lot of what we have on Julius Caesar. Plutarch wrote a couple 100 years after Julius Caesar, 100+ years, and he wrote a lot of the stuff that we have on Julius Caesar. So what do you mean it wasn't written in his time? Guess what? Suetonius, he wrote a famous work called The Lives of the 12 Caesars. That has almost the comprehensive history of some of all of the biographical information we have on the earliest Caesars. He wrote 150 years later, removed from this stuff, and depending on some of the earlier Caesars, it was 250 years removed from. And guess what? Greco-Roman scholars are taking this stuff as gospel because they're the earliest sources. So at the end of the day, none of this stuff was ancient history wasn't written by right at the time, and that goes for all ancient sources. So you're historically.
But Shamos, you would admit, like I have a question. You would admit that that the evidence for those for those like generals, for those military leaders and politicians. You would agree that the evidence was much more abundant with statues, studies,
I'm not talking about their existence.
Places that they went.
Not talking about their existence. For example, I'm talking about things in their biography, like Caesar went here, he did this, he rebelled against the Senate on this day. We don't have we don't have any evidence other than give me the physical evidence for Julius Caesar rebelling against the Senate's orders. There's no physical evidence of that. It exists in manuscript history, and it's told by these guys 200 years later. So guess
let
what?
me explain something to you.
Everything we know about Jesus, Caesar defying Senate, the Senate comes from guys that wrote on it 200 years later.
Let me correct you there for a second. With all those other people and all the writings about them, they could prove that they may exist. They probably did. Jesus may have existed. But here's the thing. All the claims about all those other generals and Julius Caesar and all that, we don't buy any of the supernatural crap that comes from that. We don't buy that the eagle won the battle when it flew over the general's head. We don't buy none of that. But yet you buy the claim about Jesus, which is a supernatural claim. You have no evidence to back it up. You have nothing to go on except a claim from 60 years later, as you put it. So
you don't like it that there can be accurate, reliable eyewitness claims of supernatural events that can be believed based on the accuracy and reliableness of their testimony, and your ability to presuppose naturalism to cater to your worldview makes that option impossible, and that's supposed to impress me how.
So wouldn't be Jesus coming out of his grave and all the zombies entering Jerusalem and walking around over there? Wouldn't that be something to write about for those people in those times?
Mm-hmm.
How about that?
Yeah.
Okay, Christian Anarchist, you said you wanted to say something. Go and get it out now.
Yeah, I was referring to the deal with the Apostle Paul. He didn't meet Jesus, so not that much of a reliable eyewitness. However, one thing that I find ironic and actually hilarious is the idea that an agnostic scholar by the name of Bart Ehrman, which actually made some of the claims that Alexia just made concerning things like we don't know who wrote the Gospels and whatnot. Apparently, though, he says that one of the historic documents that we know for Jesus' existence and an accuracy of how he was portrayed was that we have a source of someone that knew Jesus' brother. And the source, the historical document that Ehrman says is historic and can be trusted as historic, is the Pauline epistles. And this is from a scholar and a historian. So, I mean, the amount of historians that take the view that Richard Carrier takes is in a very small minority, and a majority of very high-willed scholars and historians with good degrees are not going to debate the fact that there was a person named Jesus that existed, and especially some of the instances that happened. We even have the historians of the past named Josephus, and we're going to disregard some of the things that happened with Josephus. Josephus stated the things with Jesus. He was crucified. I don't know if it was either Jesus, it was Josephus, or Tacitus. They say Jesus was crucified. He was, he was crucified under the reign of Pontius Pilate, under the reign of Tiberius, and he was the leader of the group known as the Christians. So this is a very accurate representation of half of the stuff, at least, that's mentioned within the New Testament Gospels and within general teachings in the epistles themselves. So we do have historian things, and if we're just going to ignore the historians of the past on those claims, then we may as well just be skeptical of every modern-day historian that we have making claims about people like Caesar and all these other things. Like, what would happen to our generation now? Should we be skeptical of future generations that doubt the existence of Ronald Reagan?
No, see, here's the difference with what other historians were talking about and the people that they describe. They don't apply supernatural things to them, trying to make them into a god. They don't claim that Julius Caesar walked on water. They don't claim Napoleon walked on water. So it's the supernatural claims that are the biggest issue. The second issue is you can't even prove that he existed.
Okay.
But once you do that, then you still have the problem of actually proving the miracles did happen.
Oh wait, hold on a second. Earlier you said, first you did say that you don't think Jesus would have existed. Then earlier in the thing, you then later also said that it's possible that Jesus may have existed. So you gave the possibility that he did.
I said it's possible. I didn't say it's true. I said you are lacking all the evidence to prove that he did.
Well, we have people that refer to him.
I mean, Zeus could exist.
Yeah, but the thing is, you can deny the concept of the deity of Christ, but the fact is, if you say that there's no person known as Jesus, that you might as well say, well, the Holocaust never happened.
No, it's two completely different things.
No,
we have an individual here who's given a supernatural quality and tried to make godlike in the story.
You didn't listen to the first part of it. I said you can deny the claims of him being a deity, but part of the historical concept, Ehrman accepts the idea of Jesus existing, although he claims that what we're told in the Bible is not the historical Jesus. There's an actual different Jesus, and that the people that followed Jesus tried to distort and change.
Well, by your
I
logic,
agree with you on that, though. It's a lot easier to accept the claim that Jesus existed than it is that he was a divine oracle.
Right.
That's two separate levels of claim there. So sure, I would agree with you on that.
The only way to take the mythicist position, the modern mythicist position, is to deny a large host of evidence for the historical Jesus and then cling to very, very weak evidence for his non-existence. Like for example, like some of the arguments for Jesus's existence would be basically like Paul references him as a real person, and even though Paul never met him, he spoke with James, the brother of Jesus, and Peter. He mentions this in the first first chapter of Galatians, and he was in the know with Jerusalem, and even in Acts records, Galatians also records they had a falling out about circumcision. So he was in the know with people that would have been firsthand witnesses and would have been able to historically verify Jesus' death and resurrection. Now, look, there's many sources outside of the Bible itself that refer to Jesus, and you got to understand we can use the Bible as sources as well. But two of the most popular secular sources are quote by Josephus and Tacitus that both link Jesus to a crucifixion by Pontius Pilate under the reign of Tiberius, which matches up historically with what the Gospels say. In addition to that, early Jewish critics never argued for Jesus' non-existence. In fact, all the early Jewish polemics argued for Jesus' existence and just called him a liar, magician, and stuff like that. They never would argue against his existence. So there's many, many, many evidences for why Jesus existed, but there's very, very few evidences for why he didn't.
So the Bhagavad Gita, whatever, the Buddhist holy book, or not Buddhist, but Hindu, speaks about Krishna. It has, first-hand accounts and stuff like that in there too. Do you believe that means Krishna actually existed?
No.
Oh, not to mention the fact that it came 600 years before your supposed Jesus.
Doesn't matter how early.
90% of the claims that were made about Krishna were stolen and put on Jesus.
Doesn't matter. That's a lie. That's actually a lie. That's an
It's actually a provable
lie.
truth.
That's uneducated lie. If you could substantiate that, I'd pay you $1,000.
Google it.
Yeah,
differences between Krishna and Christ.
A woman named. Yeah. Okay. Let me explain to you. I'm more familiar with this subject than you probably are. There was a woman. Her name is Acharya S. Her real name
You're
is
obviously not.
Her name is D.M. Murdoch, and she wrote a book about this. She has a bachelor's degree in history. She teaches history at a high school. And she wrote a book on this, okay? And I actually have it on my computer, and no one besides her have expounded things like this. Hold on, give me a second. I'll actually pull the name of the book up and give you a link so you can check it out for yourself.
Have you actually read the Hindu holy book? I'm guessing not.
Yeah, but look here.
You want to use an argument from authority.
No, let me show you.
You don't even want to take the time to actually research and study it.
Hold on, let me show you how historical claims are done. They're evaluated on their own merits through what's known as the historical criterion and methodology. So we take all claims and we evaluate them on their individual merits. Now, historians have evaluated the claims of the Bible on their individual merits, and the majority of historians come to the agreement based on the preponderance of evidence that Jesus most likely existed. Now, those same historians that look at Krishna upon the preponderance of evidence historically don't see warranted evidence for the existence of Krishna. That's why when you apply what's known as historical criterion and methodology to individually evaluate historical claims, you take them on their own merits and you can establish some are real, some are not. They stand and fall on their own merits. So Jesus stands on his historical merits and Krishna falls on the lack of historical merits. That's how history's done.
Well, somebody else can have you. I'm done trying to teach somebody who doesn't want to learn and has no idea what they're talking about.
Sounds like you've been duly refuted. Don't let the door hit you on your way out.
No, I'm just about to drive and I don't feel like talking to an idiot.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, let's not be like that. Like when you leave a debate, you're usually supposed to
Oh, it wasn't a debate. I'm not leaving. I'm just done talking to him.
Why was Seamus being an idiot? I'm kind of curious. I thought he kind of had a good back and forth. I don't see what he said was something that was wrong or right, but what he stated was perfectly up for evaluation. He wasn't talking from a point of ignorance.
Like I said, I'm done with this for right now. I'm in the middle of Walmart. Don't feel like talking about it right now.
Okay. See ya, Alexia.
Didn't say I'm leaving. I just said I'm done talking to him.
Oh, okay.
I've got to finish this little movie clip that I'm going to post, and then I got to go get some food and some other things. But
I'm going to be treated with McDonald's.
I'm trying to avoid McDonald's. I actually haven't had McDonald's in like 2.5 weeks. When I gave a Smokey, I said I'm not going to go to McDonald's either, except to have like the salad. They have a good salad.
I'm poor. What can I say?
But I also gave up soda too. I haven't had a soda in a couple weeks either.
I'm not even going to be able to have presents for Christmas. This is most fucking biggest bitch ever. No, I don't really care, honestly. This new house that we're getting is a present enough.
Sweet.
Yeah, my place is too small for gifts. I pretty much asked most people I knew who were getting me stuff, just digital items or little treats or something. But yeah, too small for living in too small of a place for gifts.
Give me thumbs up for my Christmas present. Like my videos. I'm getting better.
Okay, I'll do that. I'll do that.
I'm working with Blender. I'm trying to get some Blender shit going.
A Donald Trump butt plug.
Ooh, that sounds awesome. I always wanted Donald Trump on my butt.
Bullshit comes out of my ass. I'll never shove it up my ass. Or can I get away with saying that on here?
Sure, why not?
I mean, yes, most politicians are BS, but you know, some have a extra flavor.
Just a question. I'm in the middle of Europe. It's about 3:30 in the morning. What's the time with you?
Well, I'm in
after 5.
Saskatchewan, Canada. I'm 7:20 here. So.
Like, even if it was another politician who, no, if it was like a Republican or some other politician who had different faith and was like xenophobic, like let's say it was someone who was a Muslim politician and he said, let's get rid of these Jews, I'd be heavily against them.
So who was the one that was saying that Jesus was a real historical person?
Me and every other credible historian and scholar in the field,
no.
except for
I'm
Robert M. Price and Richard Carey.
I'm not disputing his existence at all. I'm just saying it is very likely that he very much existed. Okay, no doubt that he existed here. It's just that he wasn't the person who he said he was.
Okay, that's fine.
For that matter.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with when I'm arguing for the historicity of Jesus. I'm okay. That's all I'm really trying to argue for. So.
Well, that's not up for debate. Okay.
But Shamos, like, the thing is, you kind of...
There's avenues we could go down around this, enlightened. Was that who was talking to me?
Yes.
But why didn't then apply the elder write about him? Because he was contemporary. There is nothing in the whatever his works were about Jesus.
Yeah,
not his crucifixion, not his resurrection, not about the zombies going through Jerusalem, and whatever. Don't forget the zombies walking through Jerusalem. Well, the Roman soldiers, of course, must have been on night patrol. But they as well didn't write about it to their life.
That's known as a historical argument from silence, which is a fallacious form of reasoning. But for example, let me explain to you something why that's a bad line of reasoning. Because let's say that the dead did walk in Jerusalem and someone did record it, and let's just say the manuscript never survived. So it was recorded, someone wrote about it, but the manuscript has since died somewhere, you know. But listen. What I'm trying to tell you why that's a bad argument, because it's arguments from silence say that basically there are other things that could explain historical absence of evidence, i.e. the fact that the manuscript never ever survived. So that doesn't mean necessarily that because we don't have a historical work, you can't say silence you can't interpret silence to mean something. There's many reasons for silence.
Okay, but we can use that argument for any religion who makes that claim then, right?
No, hold on, let me explain to you why this manifests itself. This is only a criterion in historical textual arguments, okay? And and it can also be extended to historical archaeological arguments, okay? See, in science, there can be valid arguments from the absence of evidence. For example, someone claims the California wildfire is going, we could base an argument on the absence of evidence, i.e. there's no smoke or something like that, to say that based on the absence of evidence that claim is falsified. But historically you can't do that. The reason why it's a fallacy historically is because historically We just might not have access to those things, or they may have been lost. But so it doesn't follow. That's why when phrased in terms of a non-scientific area, in terms of archaeology or history, that manifests
The Romans
itself.
were known as meticulous archivists of everything that happened. And don't forget, walking zombies through town would have shaken up the town completely that night. So everyone must have been writing about that or have seen something. So the story you make doesn't hold. It's massive. It's the news of the millennia for that time.
I could read you just quickly because you can look into this if you if you want. But I posted an article to the Argument from Silence, and I'll just read you the first paragraph. Tell me if this sounds familiar to the way that you're arguing. It says, to make an argument from silence is to express a conclusion that is based on the absence of statements in historical documents, rather than on their presence. In the field of classical studies, it often refers to the assertion that an author is ignorant of the subject based on the lack of references to the author's available writings.
Well,
so
then
what
we're
it says
talking about the Bible.
But what it tells you, this is an argument to show you that this is a fallacious form of reasoning, that there can be many reasons.
We are talking about the Bible. Exactly, it describes exactly everything in the Bible.
Also, other religious texts too. I mean, maybe something happened to confirming evidence towards those books.
Yeah, like
You don't know.
this doesn't make any sense. Like you're
into Schrodinger's levels of existence. It now is in a state of both existing and not existing.
Yeah, Shamos, you're kind of like special pleading here too. Like you're saying this is the case for like your religion's holy text, but for other religions' holy texts, like it.
I never brought up any religion's holy text, so I don't. I didn't bring up any. I didn't bring up any other religion's holy text.
The Bible exactly describes everything in the Bible. It is applicable to everything in the Bible.
Or maybe I can give us a conversation that might be a little more interesting. Enlightened, are you still there? You may have stepped away AFK.
Who are you talking to?
I was trying to see if, okay, here, this is what I was going to say. So, if you accept the fact that there was most likely a historical Jesus, he was just probably vastly different than the people that spoke about him and then recorded in the Gospels and such were different, then I think maybe an interesting conversation is we could talk about the proximity, both. I was wondering if we can talk. Hey, I was wondering if we could talk about maybe the proximity of the dating of these things and the proximity and location of which these things are written, with keeping in mind that they are what we would like to see from accurate historical sources on the subjects. So I would be arguing that.
It's from subjects that indicates that Jesus never existed. Your Jesus. There may have been some thousands of Jesuses in wherever it was, but Nazareth didn't exist at the time Jesus was supposed, for instance, to live there. So the entire story is hollowed out by that fact.
Yeah, I don't see much historical basis for that being true. In fact, the fact that they don't think that Nazareth was around that time just means that Nazareth was a small settlement and they might not be searching in the right locations.
Seamus, I'll have to call you back on this and have a different conversation another time.
What the fuck?
Nazareth wasn't even on the Roman, how do you call the Roman maps.
It doesn't need to be on a Roman maps. Nazareth was a village that was mentioned. Listen, you're not listening. Okay. Nazareth was a village that was mentioned in both the Old Testament and the New Testament. Okay. So historically, I guess most historians thought sometime during the Old Testament the village fizzled out and then was didn't get repopulated till way, way longer after the death of Jesus. But historically, all that tells us is that where they've been looking, they haven't found a Nazareth that has any type of paleological dating that can be, dating that this was actually settled at that time. That doesn't mean that they just might not be looking in the right spot, or the settlement was really, really small. It wasn't probably that many people. In fact, he was from the boondocks. That's what Nazareth really was. That's when he was teaching in the synagogues. He said, "Isn't this the boy from Nazareth?" And so, yeah, you wouldn't expect to see things like that. I wouldn't think.
I have a question. What was his Jesus' youth and teenagers being blotted out? Was he like an awkward kid growing up or something like that?
I don't know. The only thing we have on Jesus' childhood exists in much, much later apocrypha that are called like infancy gospels. That most of them originate from a Gnostic community 100 to 200 years after the death of Jesus. So we really don't know. Like they have one called the Infancy Gospel of Thomas, which actually the Quran sourced. The Infancy Gospel of Thomas says that when Jesus was like 1 year old, Mary basically told the elders in the synagogue that she was a virgin, and they laughed in her face. So she brought Jesus to him, and he told them when he was 1 year old, or like even 6 months old, that he basically said, "Yeah, I'm a prophet from God. I'm legit. My mom's, is a virgin," or something like that. And,
but wait a minute. I remember there was a well mentioned in the Bible, and they searched for a town near that well, and there has never been a town near that well. The place only where the Nazareth could have been located was a cemetery.
I mean, I wouldn't be like, look, we haven't found one small, tiny well that existed 2,000 years ago, therefore this didn't exist. Some small, tiny little well that might have dried up 2,000 years ago, and because we can't find that, it doesn't exist.
Name something with a G. I can't remember that right now. But the story is flimsy.
I knew this climate change is a real issue, but it's easier to pay for than what's that? University of Phoenix. Let's see. Shit, I lost it now. Link.
Maybe Ron Wyatt, Nazareth. Google for it. You'll find it. And Taiwanese pottery.
Creation Killer. Do me a favor and say, "Get to the chopper." Say that for me. Creation Killer.
Yes.
Could you say, "Get to the chopper" for me?
Where do I have to go?
He wants you to say the following words.
Could you say, "Get to the chopper" for me?
I do not understand.
Look, repeat after me. Get to the chopper. Say that.
Chopper. Like the helicopter?
Get to the chopper. Yes, say get to the chopper.
Chopper. And I do not know what it is.
No, say get to the chopper.
No.
You gotta say the whole thing.
I think he is, but he's just
language barrier. Language barrier.
Yeah, fuck it. Anyway, story time now.
You know who'd be really good at that?
US
Tom.
To fight climate change. Oh yeah, he'd be good at that. U.S. fund to fight global climate change less than annual payout to a single for-profit college. Okay. Putting it in side chat. Like friggin' rocket science right here. Okay, last week at a critical point in the Paris negotiations on global climate change, Secretary of State John Kerry announced that the United States would commit $800 million annually to help developing nations adapt to a warming climate and move to cleaner energy. That $800 million doubled the prior U.S. pledge, and the announcement may have sealed the deal. It's a great deal of money, but it is actually less than U.S. taxpayers provided in the past year to each of the 5 major for-profit college companies, all of which have been under investigation in recent years by federal and state law enforcement agencies for deceiving their students, lying to government regulators, and other abuses. According to data from the USD Department of Education, the following companies received these amounts in federal, state grants and loans in the 2014-2015 year. Okay, University of Phoenix / Apollo, $1.99 billion. Education Management Corps, $1.47 billion. DeVry, $1.47 billion. Kaplan, $877 million. At Career Education Corps, $803 million. These figures do not even include additional tens of millions of dollars per company in federal education aid for military service members, veterans from the Defense Department, and the Veterans Administration. All of these for-profit companies were, in fact, receiving much more in federal aid until a few years ago, when the truth about their business practices were finally filtered out to prospective students and enrollment plummeted. So yeah, it's interesting. And I got them going. What y'all think about that? Hey, Squidward. Right.
Very interesting.
I would respond, but I'm driving.
Chris, what you think of that?
I said it was very interesting. That's all.
Yeah. Burden. You awake?
Oh, yeah.
What'd you think of that story?
To be honest, I was just out of the room for a little bit, so...
Okay, basically, in a nutshell, the U.S. fund to fight global climate change, which at that summit in Paris was $800 billion, is less than payouts to a single for-profit college. Actually, 5 for-profit colleges.
Wait, it's less than what?
The $800 million is less than the annual payouts to 5 for-profit college companies.
I really honestly don't know what to say about that. I don't really know much about that issue.
All right.
No opinion, to be honest.
I mean, it just seems interesting how how something that benefits more people is better than a few greedy ass private companies trying to get over on people.
I don't really know much about the for-profit colleges. So I really don't, because really I don't look so much into the education system.
All right.
Oh, am I allowed to bring like my own topic into the Hangout just out of curiosity?
Sure. Go ahead.
Oh yeah. Let's see. Is anyone actually paying? Is anybody interested in what's going on in Syria?
I think I mentioned a story about it, but they were But yeah, there were actually people going cannabis in Lebanon. But yeah, there's slight interest. Why?
I would assume that most people are supporting the Kurds, right? The Kurdish forces.
Well, I'm not aware of what's going on in Syria. Could you explain?
What?
Like there was a mention that. Okay, could you give more reference to like who the Kurds are and what side are they on?
I'm not aware of what's going on. Could you explain the situation?
In Syria, there's basically four groups that are fighting one another. You have Assad's forces. That's the current government regime that's still there. You have the Free Syrian Army, which comprises of a bunch of Sunni with a few Shias as well. They're mostly funded by Saudi Arabia, so I'm a little suspicious, really, of their motives. A third group is ISIS. Obviously, I would assume everyone's against them. And then the fourth group is the Kurds, who have always been oppressed by the Turkish and the Syrians and the Iraqis because they were denied their own country in the 30s. And basically, they're just fighting the Syrians because they've been long oppressed. The Kurds are mostly Sunnis, but they tend to be very pro-Western, and their form of Sunni Islam is a little bit more moderate than pretty much most other forms of Sunni Islam. So there's at least a bit of sympathy towards them. They tend to be very pro-Western. They also tend to be very pro-Israeli for some odd reason.
Yeah, I don't know. All I know is I just think that we should stop policing the world. You know, to be honest with you.
Well, that's kind of a simpleton answer. I mean, personally, if there's at least some groups I think that are worth giving some funding to over others. I think the big mistake that we did make was we just kind of when the whole Syria crisis broke out, our government was just blindly giving money out to the rebel groups, not realizing that there were radical factions within those groups.
Well, I mean, that's the problem. I mean, we have a bad foreign policy. I mean, you know, in terms of like trying to maintain power with regard to geopolitics, we tend to, you know, invent like new enemies to fight. You know, we use to maintain some power in some regions of the world, and ultimately they gain enough power and influence themselves. They get ape shit and try to start their own agenda.
Yeah, I'm not denying that.
By the way, the last time we were talking about fusion reactors, and I couldn't find the link, but I have posted in the group chat a link to a fusion reactor that works. Finally, just have a look.
I have a topic. I have something interesting I'd like to ask. Am I the only one that finds it rather interesting that when Bush invaded Iraq and found Saddam Hussein, they hanged him on national TV, but when Obama found Osama bin Laden, nobody ever got to see his body?
Well, okay. Well, see, the thing was, see, the interesting thing is, me and Pruden actually had an argument about this one time. Yeah, see, Bush invaded what was at the time, you know, wasn't controlled by Al Qaeda in Iraq. You know, they tended to be secular. I mean, they you know, they produced their own beer. You know, out there. You know, it was only until after Bush invaded it that you know, that secular state kind of lost influence and you know, made way for Al Qaeda. But the Afghanistan thing, you know, at least with that, like 3 years in. President Obama, like under that administration, you know, special forces managed to kill Osama bin Laden and dump his ass in the ocean because no one wanted his ass. Yeah, I mean, we didn't need to see him. We have his DNA to prove it.
I would argue, though, I don't know. Saddam Hussein may have he tried to come off as secular, but there were some of his actions I think that weren't incredibly secular. I think he was just kind of good at masking some of his religious ideas, but for the most part, I'm not sure if he was as big of a threat as we made him out to be.
Well, it was never about him anyway. It was about the oil.
He was still an enemy of the state beforehand. I mean, he shot at planes every day for 10 years beforehand.
And yet, there was no weapons of mass destruction at all.
I didn't argue about WMDs. He did still have some leftover. He did still have some leftover chemical weapons, and he was waiting for sanctions to end. I'm not trying to say like he was as big a threat as the Bush administration made him out to be, but I don't think he was completely isolated as some people on the very far left want us to think.
Thanks.
Hey, Jojo, what's up?
Merry Christmas. You can have one right now. Or you
Joe! What's up?
Yeah, I'm pretty fantastic right now.
Excited about Christmas?
Yeah, I'm a little. I'm more excited for Christmas Eve, though.
Yeah. So you said like if whoever got in the room, you talk about the whole. All right, yeah, he's gone. Yeah, that would have been boring anyway. Screw that.
Who is this guy?
Who's Josiah? Some kid, random creationist, indoctrinated by Ken Hovind's bullshit.
Yeah, let's hope he doesn't get any of the other Ken Hovind's stuff like the King James onlyism, because then we'd have an illiterate person on our hands.
No. See, that kid is like Lil G-Man. Lil G-Man, always having fun.
Dear Lord.
Hey, Creation Killer, what is this? So if this cold fusion reactor works, like what would that cost?
About 6 billion euros or so. And it's cheaper than the one they are building in France right now. And it has some new field technology to restrain the plasma. So, well, this looks very nice, and I posted another link about a magnetic wormhole. So that's the next step. Can we go into space?
So if this would turn on, it would cause a wormhole.
Willful science fiction. But it's interesting to see that we are making progress in my lifetime.
Oh yeah, man, that's cool. All right, I'm gonna take it off air. This has been cool. All right, this has been Wolf King and Happy Human Light. I'd like to thank everyone for participating. Hope you guys have a wonderful winter solstice and a happy New Year. Stop it out there.